Thank you, Ms. Little. I hope I'm having an awesome day too. Appreciate that. Yes, Ms. Colling, I'm going to cover that. I'll let you know what the classroom's going to look like. Hey, Ms. Jackson. How you doing, Ms. Gay? You're welcome. How you doing, Mr. Floor? Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for praying for me. I think we all need a little bit of prayer these days. Oh, got family in the house. So, Rochelle. Folks, we'll get started in about 2 minutes or so. I have about 280 plus questions, and I'm going to try to stop at some point in time to see if there's anything live coming in as well. My man, Dave LaFave. I'm going to cover that, Ms. Smith-Wilson. Good afternoon, folks. A lot of love here in Suffolk. I love that. That's that SPS family. Dr. Branch, CAO, is in the house. Good afternoon, Mr. Lawrence. Hey, Mary. Lena, I'm going to probably try to stay on here for about an hour because we always got to think about the recording, things of that nature. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, we want to thank you all for all of your patience and your hard work, dedication, the family atmosphere, and support of the school division this year. We know that it hasn't been easy, right? And we also know that in every decision that's been made, we always wanted to make sure that we kept our students' thought process first, wanted to make sure we supported our staff, and also wanted to make sure that we properly communicated with you all. And, you know, I got to honestly say that, and I'm going to say this a couple of times throughout, anytime you all have any questions, please come to us. Don't go to other Facebook groups, Facebook pages, things of that nature. There's so much misinformation out there, which is part of the reason why I decided to do this Facebook Live. And this has been pretty continuous anytime that we've had major decisions that's been made by the school board or by me, that I always wanted to make sure that we were going to follow up on it. So I'm going to hop into some of these questions. My plan is to go to about 20 or so of these, and maybe come back to the screen, see if there's anything new. I got a couple of announcements I want to make for all of you all as well. The first question I think is pretty important because it relates to a lot of other questions that we've received. Can you provide information about the extensive cleaning program that is done in the classrooms and buildings? And how can parents make sure our children are ready to go back? So that's probably the main concern. If you all remember from watching all of our school board meetings from when we started this discussion in July, the first thing we did with the additional money that we received from the government is to buy so many cleaning supplies, right? We have machines that can actually disinfect an entire classroom in 15 minutes. We bought 40,000 masks, for example. gowns for our students and our staff, in our specialized programs. We bought face shields, disinfectant sprayers, wipes. We haven't put a lot of that stuff out yet because we wanted to wait for kids to come back, but staff did all receive their masks. And I know this kind of relates to another question that people have about some of the procedures that we're going to put in place for kids, etc. We're going to do everything that we can to keep staff and students safe. And we have some mandatory CDC guidelines. You know, a lot of things have changed since we closed school March 13th. We now know that the coronavirus itself, the chances of anyone contracting it from touch surfaces is slim to none. This is specifically an airborne virus. I've had a couple of questions that have come in. Is the mask mandate going to be applied in Suffolk? Of course. That is a state rule, CDC rule, United States rule, etc. We are going to be very, very diligent about that. It is mandatory for everyone that comes into our schools to wear masks. And I've gotten a couple of questions from some of our constituents. What happens if a student's not wearing a mask? You know, we will have masks on the bus for students. We will have masks at school, but we're also going to keep track of that. We can't keep giving masks over and over again to the same students. So after a few times and that communication that happens with the family, if that continues to happen, that student will then be moved to virtual. I mean, we got to just be safe with that. At the secondary level, we also are going to have disinfectant wipes that will be used. Students will have the opportunity to wipe down their desks. There's going to be multiple different methods that are going to occur. In some classrooms, we're actually keeping all the desks in there, and students will sit every other seat. We may have designated desks for even days, designated desks for odd days. We also will have 6 feet of social distancing. Probably can fit about 12 to 13 students in the class. That's part of the reason why we're dividing things up within our cohorts. This is something that the entire staff has really been working on since July. And so I just want to reiterate to everyone that a lot of the questions that you all have, please go to our website. Our COVID-19 resource guide literally addresses about 60% of these questions, and the plan that the school division have to keep students and staff safe. 2 days of learning and 3 days without help from a teacher doesn't seem fair, especially if the kid is struggling or doesn't understand the work. Well, that's part of the reason why we've already had the enrichment and remediation sessions every day, Monday through Thursday, and Friday being enrichment and remediation day for students. And it changes now. And I want to let everyone know we're going to have some live webinars for you all as parents to help with your transition to getting students back into the flow of things the week of March 8th. So look out for that. And it's going to be recorded so that it can be shared again as well. And the only thing we're going to ask, you have to be comfortable being on camera if you have questions, but we know that some of the questions are similar. The 2 days of learning, I guess you're referring to our hybrid model here. And I just want to remind everyone, it's going to be at the secondary level, it's going to be even, odd. And I need you to think of the structure of, let's say, periods 1, 3, 5, 7, right? We have to cut the class in half. We have to cut the class in half, which is the reason why it's even, odd. And we also want to make sure that kids don't go a long period of time without getting that face-to-face instruction for those students that pick that choice. Now, a repetitive question that I'm seeing here is, why can't that occur at the elementary level? So that question was actually posed to our principals, and we had probably weeks of discussion about it. And the biggest concern is at the elementary level, when it comes to, let's say, someone doing a hybrid 45, where the first 45 minutes is direct instruction for the students that are in a hybrid model face-to-face, and the second 45 is for the students that are in the virtual model at home. At the elementary level, the biggest concern was when the teacher is directing all of her attention to the virtual instruction for the students at home, the elementary students may still need some support in the classroom. And so we don't want anyone to be ignored, especially at that age level. That is the most primary level that every choice that we've kind of made has been thinking about, how will this affect our youngest learners? Or what you hear the Department of Education about, our most vulnerable learners. So I want to clear that up. I mean, we may end up having some pilots with some things depending on the numbers that are in class, but making sure that the teacher has the opportunity to really work directly with those elementary kids in either setting is going to be important. And we weren't 100% sure if it was fair to our elementary learners if a teacher is focused on the virtual students and can't help that face-to-face student right there in the class. A few weeks ago, Governor Northam mentioned there had been an extension to the school year. Do you have any updates on that? Thank you so much for asking that question. So we've been asked several times if Suffolk Public Schools is going to consider year-round schools, and the answer is no. I opened up 3 year-round schools in my prior role as chief of schools in Chesterfield, and it actually is a 6-month process if you want to do it right. This includes surveying staff to determine who wants to go into the year-round calendar. And then the most traditional year-round calendar you see is 9 weeks on and 3 weeks off. So we would then have to also align that up with our current calendar that was recently approved by the school board. Then we have to see if any parents want to waiver out of that school. That takes time too, because we have to be able to see if there's room in the other schools that are close by, because then the parent also has to provide their own transportation. And there's so many other steps. So we're not going to do an extended school year, but we are revamping our summer school program. We're basically going to have 3 tiers. A flyer is going to be coming out to you all probably in a week or two. We're calling it the Summer Series, where we have a summer academy for our kids that basically need the most support, specifically in math and literacy, or for those students that have some issues getting prepared and ready to pass the SOL test that is needed for graduation. Then we will have our traditional summer school model. And then a new thing that we're adding is the Summer Bridge program, because we kind of have made the decision that, if we continue to look back and just focus on learning loss, how does that really help our kids for next year? So we're going to give you a bridge, right? You're a 3rd grader going to a 4th grader. We're going to introduce you to some 4th grade strands. Okay? For those classes that maybe need some scaffolding of the SOLs and things of that nature, we want to be able to introduce it to the students so they can get some insight. And I promise you, we're going to make it fun and engaging. And we're going to have some great incentives for staff to be able to do that too. So that'll probably take place, in the month of July. A flyer will be coming out soon. Summer school is going to be free, folks. Summer school is going to be free to our students and to our families that live in the city of Suffolk. That's what we did last year. That's the least we can do this year. According to the document posted recently, it states that elementary classroom can hold 12 students of socially distanced. What happens when our numbers have 14 to 16? That's part of the reason why we're going to divide this up. We don't have any elementary classrooms that are over 26 in enrollment right now. So we think we'll be able to fit everyone in. At the last school board meeting, voted to return to hybrid. The CDC released updated recommendations. Based on those latest recommendations, it states we should be learning virtually. So if you go to our SPS dashboard, that was part of the things that we had always talked about. When we went to red, that we were going to try to stay virtual. But remember, when the governor came out with the mandate, and I know people are going to say it's not really a mandate, but it really is. When the governor came out with the mandate of schools opening by March 15th, it's because the research that was happening at the state level and the federal level was saying that schools were not a significant place where the coronavirus was being spread. And I know the argument's going to be that's because a lot of schools weren't open. Valid point. But as they trace it, it's just not the same level of high spread as it is in a normal community. So if you look at Dr. Rice's presentation from last school board meeting, there's basically 5 basic indicators. We even have been focused on 2 until the new CDC guidelines came out of the % positivity rate, total number of cases. They are also looking at how many hospital beds are available, things of that nature. So we believe that the plan that we've put forward keeps our staff and students safe. As a matter of fact, we had a letter that came from the Western Tidewater Health District that supported our plan. This health plan that we had to send to the Virginia Department of Education in the fall supported our plan. So I'm confident it will work as long as we are effective and efficient in getting it done. Are kids face-to-face going to get free meals? Yes, free meals for everybody across the board, face-to-face and virtual. As a matter of fact, if you're face-to-face, Dr. Whiting, our great director of Food Nutrition Services, has this set up so that if you are hybrid, you actually will get 7 meals. If you're virtual, you get 5. He's going to do like 5-day meal kits like we've done in the past when we went on spring break and things of that nature. Are the playgrounds in schools supposed to be closed? Yes, but we're going to get ready to open them back up. Playgrounds will be used, ladies and gentlemen, when elementary schools are back in session on March 15th. Okay, I want to clear that up too. Playgrounds are going to be used. Remember, the CDC has said that high-touch areas are not a major factor in spreading the virus. But we're going to expect all of our kids to wash their hands as soon as they come back in, use our hand sanitizer and things of that nature. Okay, but we still want them to be able to play, because we know that play is something that's a very, very important part of not only elementary life, but secondary life too. Our volunteer hours going to be waived for high school students. Yes. Are we still taking the SOL to elementary level? Yes. SOLs being taken is not a state decision. It's not a Suffolk decision. That is a federal decision. Now, SOLs have been waived as far as the accreditation piece. Like the scores that we get aren't going to count against us for accreditation. That came out from the Virginia Department of Education in the fall. But we still have to take them. And I want to be clear here, ladies and gentlemen, the SOLs that we've already taken in 7th grade, got some tests coming up in 8th grade. I'm going to give you all some dates right here in 11th grade. When the SOL window opens this year, this is the new ground zero. All right? This is 1998 when SOLs first started. Starts all over. Because we know that some kids didn't do as well in virtual. Right? We know that some kids did great. We know that there's other issues that might be going on at home, because, you know, you all have heard me say so many times, you never know how the pandemic affected individual families. Are you changing teacher assignments for hybrid or virtual students? This is mainly for the elementary level, probably where this question has come up. And my answer is going to be at the elementary level, it depends. It depends. You all will find out, we will know how everything is going to work as far as what our percentages are in probably about a week and a half. And then teachers you'll begin to get letters from us probably the first week in March, letting you know what the breakdown is going to be. For secondary, letting you know if it's going to be A or B days. And I want to remind you all that a lot of this information is going to come directly from schools. Okay? Are you going to be pairing siblings on the same days? That is the goal. That is the goal. But again, a lot of this really depends on the feedback we get. The school community made it very clear to us, and because we were tracking the questions that were coming in. We know that we asked you all for your survey input in the fall, actually in the summer. And now that we are in the spring, this is part of the reason why there's such a quick turnaround to see if anyone wants to change their mind. And if you're keeping your area the same, you're good to go. Right? But it then takes planning at the school administrative level, at the building level, to make sure that we can count how many kids there are in the classroom. To determine at the elementary level, there is going to be one designated teacher per grade level right now that will be virtual. It may go to 2. You know, we just don't know until we get all of your data back in. So I wish I can guarantee it, but the schools are going to do a great job of communicating with you. You have my word on that. And our principals are really on it. We had a great principals meeting yesterday, some good discussions about this. And so look forward to some communication coming from them. At one point during the pandemic, you commented there was social distancing on buses. It may take up to 5 buses to run one single route. That was correct for 77 passenger buses. Is that still the case? If so, what can we expect in terms of pickup and drop-off time? So bus routes will come out probably the week of March 8th. And I need to talk about the buses. Everybody must wear a mask. Parents, you all must make sure, you got to help us out here, because remember, we're all in this together. You have to fill out that parent acknowledgement form. And I know there's some trust factors here, but if your child isn't feeling well, if your child is showing any of the symptoms that's on that form, please don't send them to school. Please. Because once they get to school and we start to notice those symptoms, we have several rooms around the school that we're going to use as kind of like isolation rooms. And we're going to call you to come pick them up. And then we're going to ask you some information to make sure that before it's safe for your child to come back. I got another question on here about, so what happens if we get multiple cases in the school? So I got to clear this up too. If we have 2 cases that are related in a school, that means that you're contact tracing, you're spreading, it becomes a multiplier, right? That is what determines an outbreak. If multiple cases are related. Folks, if we have an outbreak, I'm going to close that school down for 14 days. Okay, I just want to make that clear. If we have an outbreak, we're going to close the school down for 14 days. Because we've been lucky so far. We've been lucky. We have not had any outbreaks, and we want to make sure that that continues in Suffolk Public Schools. So the governor recently stated that each county or district would need to make the best decision for the district based on their data. Correct. I also need to let you all know there's 133 school divisions in the Commonwealth of Virginia. As of yesterday, 130 had already set their plans to go back to school. And the last 3 happened yesterday and today. So all 133 school divisions will announce their plans to send their kids back to school. Can a child's cohort be changed from A to B? No. Once you make your choice, if it's going to be hybrid or virtual, we got to lock you in for the year. We got to lock you in for the year. Because remember, everything that we're doing is based on the numbers and your feedback. Everything we're doing is based on the numbers and your feedback. We're not going to do like, I know a lot of you all have mentioned some other neighboring school districts where students were going back and forth and all that type of stuff. We're not doing that. You know, we got about, 12 weeks left of school, including spring break. By the time kids come back, we got to lock you in because that's the only way that we can make sure that the plan actually works. Can students use their own laptop or Chromebook? No. Can you please explain explicitly what the elementary day looks like in a hybrid model? So that's going to look pretty similar to the traditional elementary school day. The elementary principals and teachers are discussing some methods for group work. Right, because we know there still needs to be some small group things, so there might be some small group stuff happening in the classroom, but through the computer. That's another reason why we couldn't have elementary doing virtual and face-to-face at the same time. Do elementary students get the same in-person lessons or instruction if they are assigned to group A and B? Yes. Do you have the intention or goal of fully opening the schools one day? Of course. Or does the school system plan on waiting until new schools are built? No, that would, getting these new schools built is very, very important to us, though. The school board members expressed concern about the kids never being able to be 6 feet apart if they were returned to school full time. That is if all 25 kids were in a classroom at the same time. I want to clarify that. Okay? I want to clarify that. That's part of the reason why we're cutting it in half so we can do the 6 feet. Remember, the CDC now has given you a range of 3 feet to 6 feet. But Suffolk Public Schools wants to make it clear that 6 feet for us is the gold standard. So that's the part that we want to follow. Great question here. During the past year, while schools were shut down, what improvements were made to buildings to prepare for the students to return? So if you take a look at the breakdown that we've used from our ESSER GEAR funds, Coronavirus Act, CARES Act 1, one of the first things we did is we actually opened up the temperature damper so that we have more fresh air coming into the schools, right? It's about 30 to 35% of fresh air coming to the schools. It was 15 to 20%. We also spent money because even though the CDC says that hot water is not necessary to kill the germs, we went ahead and installed hot water in the schools that didn't have it. One of the big things that we've done, though, is we bought these bipolar ionization filters that actually kill the virus in the air. Outstanding. That's starting to be installed. And the administrators and the facility staff, when you go through the schools and you'll see it, there's 6-foot distancing signs all around the school, right? We have to really make sure, and we're going to practice this. This is some of the things that are going to be practiced. You're going to have some videos coming out from us soon. We got to make sure that we keep that social distance. Even if parents want to choose to remain virtual, have you considered that those who are teleworking doing virtual right now will likely have to return once school offers in person? So you really are not providing a choice. All we can do is provide a choice. I can't think about the job of the parent, right? I wish I could. But we've always said, you have a choice to keep your student virtual. You have a choice if you chose to send your kid back hybrid. I mean, it's your choice. For elementary students, will they have the same structure on their virtual days? Yes. But we are also going back to the normal bell schedule, okay? And that starts March 15th. Middle school 7:25, high school 8:25, elementary 9:25. For the hybrid students will be the teacher discretion as to which model they use, or will each class be formatted the same? Thank you so much for asking that question. It is the teacher's discretion. And the teachers are going to communicate to you all as parents the week of March 8th. They're going to let you know for each period, secondary, for each period, what model they're going to use from the hybrid 3, right? And a lot of it's going to be based on the enrollment of the class. This is part of the reason why we have teachers coming back on March 8th for 5 days. Going back to school with the amount of restrictions, teacher changes, and weekly schedule changes in place creates too much change for young children so late in the school year. What is your change management plan to ensure they can transition well in the hybrid environment? So the administrators are going to send out videos, and they're going to have orientations. They're going to have orientations. So you can really get a great understanding of what actually is happening in your building, right? And then we also have a webinar coming out for you all as parents to help with that transition the week of March 8th. And, I got to be clear here. We've already had students in the building for testing. Like we've had 7th grade SOL testing. Next week, we actually have the PSAT for 10th graders on February 26th. 11th grade writing SOLs coming up the week of March 8th through March 11th. We're going to provide transportation for all of this. 8th grade writing SOL, March 15th to March 18th. So the good thing about having kids come into the buildings in these small numbers, it allows us to take a look to see if there's any tweaks that need to be made to our plan. And I've been very comfortable and confident that what the administrators have put in place is working. Is working. Like ideally, folks, if we had like 33% of our students in cohort A, 33% in cohort B, and 33% in virtual, the plan would be worked to a T. But it might not have that breakdown. Might not have that breakdown. Has the school done any upgrades to the air system? Yes, just talked about that. Bipolar ionization and opening up the temperature dampers even more for more fresh air coming through the buildings. High school students change classes and use desks and chairs that others have used. Will they be cleaning between each class? Yes, we also are cleaning buses in between each bus run. How are playgrounds going to be clean and proper socially distanced? Playgrounds aren't going to be clean. At least not on the daily. At least not on the daily. How are you controlling the variable of parents sending symptomatic children to school? I can't control parents sending symptomatic children to school. This is why that parent acknowledgement form is so important. We are trusting you. We are trusting you as parents. You all trust us with your kids. We're trusting you with your kids and filling out the form too. This is why this is like a great relationship. It's a family, right? It's a family. How does our school get teacher spotlights from downtown? Your principal can order things of that nature, but we can tell you where we got the ones from that we gave to the principals. How is cleaning going to get done? Okay, so I'm going to address a couple of these things about cleaning. We put in a cleaning plan in the fall. It's about 9 to 11 steps. And at the end of the day, we've always set times where our staff actually had to be out of the building because our custodians need to go through and disinfect the entire school. We're not waiting for one specific day like you've seen other school divisions where they have a designated cleaning day. We're not doing that. We're cleaning every day. We're disinfecting every day. This is part of the reason why we changed our custodial schedule. And I've seen some questions come in here because we had one of our board members ask or say that there were 16 vacancies in the custodial department. That's not true. It's not true. There are 11. But out of those 11, 6 of them are new positions that I added. So there's really 5. So what's happening is that the custodians that are actually in the building, they're actually being paid overtime to do the job for the shortage that they have. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been going on since September. It's been going on since September. Shout out to our custodial crew. They are working. They are working hard. How many students will be in the class? Probably 12, maybe 13. Max. How will parent drop off and pick up work? That's going to be staggered. That's going to be staggered. And I'm encouraging you parents. I mean, a lot of you all are nervous about putting your kids on the bus, and I get it. You can take your kids to school. And there's going to be a process that the building level administrators are going to go over with you all about the drop off and pick up, because we're not going to just use one entrance anymore, because that kind of gives you a bottleneck, right? You're not supposed to have people around each other for long periods of time. And I want to be clear, 15 minutes of close contact is the usual threshold. Okay? All right. How will research work at the elementary level? Kids are going to go out and play. We just don't want them to be huddled up together, but we want them to play. We want them to play. And these are the things that the teachers and administrators are going to go over with the students. That whole first week when we come back is going to really be important for us to kind of reiterate the rules, right? Will virtual school start the same time as it has been? No, remember, once students go back to school, on March 15th, we go back to 725, 825, 925. 725 middle, 825 high, 925 high school. I see some shout outs right there to the Lakeland High School staff, custodial staff. We also have information coming out with Alpha Best where, staff can use up to 3 days, parents can use up to 3 days for daycare, right? Parks and Recreation is opening it back up too, which is a city-run program at all of our normal sites. So childcare will be there. How will attendance expectations be equitable between hybrid and virtual students? So we're basically going to go back to our traditional attendance plan. We got to be fair. We're going to go back to our normal attendance plan. How will the kids in middle school and high school will be getting lockers? Same way they always have been. We're also, a lot of things that we're doing is part of a process, because even though there's 133 school divisions in the Commonwealth of Virginia, everyone's ordering the same things. Like for us, one of the main things that we're also doing is we're getting rid of the water fountains, right? We're installing the water bottle filling stations. That's already started. And we're in the process of giving every student a water bottle. I'm hoping I can have them all at the schools by March 15th. How is busing being handled? Will there be multiple runs? No. Might be some, let me take that back. There might be a couple of double runs for some of our schools. But again, we won't know until we get those final numbers. There were never enough buses in normal times as it is. Well, it is right now. Shout out to our bus drivers. Our bus drivers have been working hard delivering these meals since March 16th of last year. How will staff keep students 6 feet apart? Just stop the touching, hugging, handshaking, etc. We just got to keep talking to them. And we need you all to reiterate that. And, we want to we don't want to get in the habit of giving discipline and consequences if a kid forgets. Let's have some conversations with them. Okay? Let's have some conversations with them. How will they be doing lunches? This is a great one. Okay? So lunch can occur in multiple places. Some cases it's going to be in the classroom. Probably more elementary schools will probably be doing that. Some cases they'll be going to the cafeteria. We're going to have more than a normal amount of lunches. And there's also going to probably be some other designated areas close to the cafeteria that principals are kind of working through, right? We are putting everything in place so that kids just come through the line. They don't have to put their number in or anything. It's the same thing for breakfast. Remember, lunch and breakfast is free in Suffolk Public Schools. So there's not going to be the stopping and having to do any data entry. It's going to be picking up your stuff and keeping it moving, some designated areas to eat. Custodial crew has already received instructions from Mr. Downs and Mr. Napier that will have extra trash cans available in the hallways, classrooms, those types of things. I disagree. Long as COVID-19 is still going on, I'd rather my child continue learning at home. That is your choice. Not a problem there. Are you still going to give meals out to the kids that stay at home? Yes, there'll be 5-day meal packets. 5-day meal packets. I have my son in private school. Does Suffolk intend to be back school full-time this fall? We hope so. I can tell you all that our summer series program is going to be hybrid. I can tell you that because we still need to wait for, the metrics to come down even more. We can't get back to really having 5 days a week, ladies and gentlemen, until, for example, our percent positivity rate is 3% or less. Right? Let me see here. I'm going to read a couple of these that are live right now. When will I know if my child will keep their teacher? The week of March 8th at the latest. Our seniors need recognition. 100% agree. Last year we had to do a virtual graduation, but we also paid for like senior shirts. We paid for senior pictures. We paid for senior yard signs. If we have to do virtual, we would do that again. I'll be honest and tell you that Dr. Lee, Dr. Branch, our entire team, we're actually planning 2 graduations right now. We're planning a virtual graduation and we're planning a face-to-face graduation, at ODU at Chartway Arena, right? Ted Constant Center. But you got to remember, right now, the governor, even when he redid or reviewed Executive Order 72, the cap right now is still 250 people. Now, if that's the case, we can't do a face-to-face graduation. So we're planning for both right now. I'm trying to buy us some time, but we will make a decision probably around spring break. For all the questions, can you dress for high school as well? Definitely former high school teacher here. Secondary, this is both middle school and high school. Secondary, teachers have the option to do hybrid sync, which you're teaching virtual and face-to-face at the same time. Hybrid flip, where the information is kind of introduced to you beforehand, and then when kids come in, they're actually having a discussion. And hybrid 45, where the first 45 minutes of class will be designated for direct instruction for the face-to-face students, and the second 45 is for the students that are virtual. That's what we're doing at the secondary level. I have switched from virtual to hybrid. Will I receive updated information to let me know the information has been received? Yes, by the week of March 8th. I have visited my kids' schools. Each time I have seen staff and security wearing their masks below their noses or even under their chins. Will proper mask wearing covering the nose and mouth be enforced among students and staff? Yes. Yes. It's unfortunate that we still have some staff members that are doing that, so thank you for sharing that with us. And these are the conversations that principals are going to have, and it will end up in documentation. If it's not being followed, it will end up in documentation. This is a safety issue. This is a safety issue. That's not a question, so I'm not going to read that one. I want my child to be full-time in-person learning by fall of 2021. So do we. Are you planning to be full-time in-person learning by fall of 2021? Too early to tell. It's just too early to tell. We hope so, though. We hope so. I would like to know why children with IEPs can't go back 4 days a week, because it all depends on what the IEP says. Remember, we're going 4 days a week for the kids in the specialized programs because those are the only ones that have been in school this entire year. And the original proposal was for them to go 4 days. It was changed to 2. When our health metrics went up ridiculously, remember like 10% in 1 week, we cut it back to 1. So the specialized program kids need that routine. And remember, a lot of our kids with IEPs are also in a collaborative setting. So how can they go back 4 days a week if that same teacher has her second set of odd day classes on that day? Doesn't work like that, right? We got to be able to make sure that we plan so that it's fair for students and staff. If I choose hybrid, will my child keep the same teacher? Yes. If I choose hybrid, my kids begin hybrid, can we switch to virtual? No. If I don't like hybrid, can my child go back to virtual? No. If my child stays virtual, can he or she still participate in school sports? Great question. Yes. But remember, right now, sports are also eligibility is determined based on first semester grades. That's a VHSL rule. That's not a Suffolk Public Schools rule. Got to be eligible. Let's see here. Got to scroll. Remember, I had a lot, you all. I had a lot of questions. If technology is the reason that elementary school teachers, at least upper grades, cannot teach virtual and face-to-face students at the same time in order to provide equal live instruction, why hasn't the CARES money or other saved money been used to upgrade our resource and our infrastructure? Because that's not the reason why elementary is, not doing simultaneous instruction. See, this is what happens, right, when we have like a lot of false narratives that are put out there. That's why it's part of the reason why we do these conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, we have like on our website on the COVID-19 resources, you can go there and literally there's a link that says, ask us a question. It's really about the classroom management and giving the kids a direct instruction. We spent a lot of money to make sure that our staff had upgraded laptops, including teacher assistants. We spent a lot of our CARES money because it's my goal to make sure that every classroom in Suffolk Public Schools has a new interactive whiteboard. On our website under budget, it shows you everywhere that we spent our dollars. It shows you that. Don't let anyone create these false narratives out there. Okay? It shows you. And it was always our plan to make sure that it was easy for you to be able to find. So Ms. Ward and I made sure that anything you're looking for on our website takes no more than 3 clicks. To find out anything about our budget information takes 2. Hover over division. Slide down to budget. And you will see it all. You will see it all. Don't let... It's just ridiculous, some of these stories that are out there right now. Okay, if we work overtime to help with buses and parental pickup, will we be compensated? I don't know who that is that's talking about, but anytime anyone works overtime, you're compensated. You're compensated. Is all work electronic? Not all of it. You know, if you're in the face-to-face setting, the majority of it should be virtual. Yeah, we really had to modernize, ladies and gentlemen. We were using way too much paper. Everything is not paper oriented. The kids are growing up in a different age where they are used to playing games and being digital. Now, hard copies are available, yes, but the Chromebook is their textbook. Okay, which is going to really help a lot of our kids that were carrying around, especially the secondary level, carrying around those thick books. Right? When we first announced SPS Connect, I had Dr. Lee stack up four high school level textbooks, 35 pounds. Chromebook, 3. You know, that's just kind of what we need to do here. That's what we need to do in our SPS Connect program. Is anyone monitoring the hybrid kids in the days that they're asynchronous? Yes. The teacher will still be able to have contact via email and things of that nature. How do teachers provide support to these students if they have questions? Email. And we still, remember, Fridays are still that enrichment and remediation day. That's part of the reason why we're not changing that part of the schedule. Okay? I've already answered that one. Is there any live instruction for elementary students on virtual days? So this is another big misnomer. So elementary has 2 days of face-to-face if you choose hybrid, 3 days asynchronous, right? You have to add up the hours. See, it's different at the secondary level because they're actually switching classes, right? So you have to add up the hours. The hours that we're looking at for the 2 days of elementary getting face-to-face versus the 4 days of kind of 2-part lessons that are happening at the secondary level are about even. Let me see some of these questions, because I promise you I was going to take some live ones too. And thank you to Dr. Branch and some of you other ones that are actually answering some of these questions. People are talking about how big the graduating classes are. We haven't discussed prom yet. Not sure how we can do a social distance prom. I've already answered that question about hybrid sync at the elementary level. What about the schedule going to middle school? Remember, we're going back to our normal schedule, 725. How is it determined who all the virtual teachers will be at the elementary level? That's the conversation that's actually happening between the elementary principal and select teachers. Some teachers have volunteered to be virtual. There's also some teachers, that we have to do virtual because they have pre-existing medical conditions. Can face shield be worn instead of a mask? Absolutely. CCAP, 1 day at their base school, 2 days of CCAP, Miss Wright. People were also talking about our vaccine process. I got some questions about if we're going to have a second opportunity for people to get vaccines. We hope so. I had a meeting with Secretary Carney in the governor's office last week, and one of the questions he asked us was, Dr. Gordon, what can we do to help you all? And I asked him, set up a second date for vaccines. We had 993 of our staff get the first dose, and the second dose actually is Monday and Tuesday. Right? Second dose is Monday and Tuesday. And we ordered 1,000 doses. So that's 99.3%. And remember, I got to end this myth too. People were saying that Suffolk ran out of doses. No, we didn't. It was just the fact that you had to have a quick turnaround because the Western Tidewater Health District had to order them. They had to order them so we can make sure that we got them there on time. So as you already know, there's a shortage across the state. There's a shortage across the nation. You know, Governor Northern set the 50,000 a day, I think, was his quota or his goal. Right now, they're doing about 33,000 a day. So we are now back in line for the second dose. And that doesn't also include anyone that may live, like I know a lot of our staff lives in North Carolina, and they could go to other locations. And so based on some conversations that Dr. Rice and Ms. Williford and I have had, we've had a lot of staff members who went to other locations to get their vaccines. Thank you, Ms. Eastep. Thank you, Dr. Gordon and staff, for all your hard work. And I'm excited for my daughter to get back into the classroom. So are we. Will there be a cap on the amount of students in one virtual classroom? Yeah, probably 25 to 30. It all depends on the class. That's a great question. When will information be available for before and after care for alphabets for hybrid students? That actually comes out next week. And basically, you just choose the days. You'll choose the total number of days that you will need. And then when the information comes back for cohort A or cohort B, the parent and alphabets and us will work with you to make sure that we have everything set. To clarify, if my child goes to a hybrid high school, they may have a different teacher from the current virtual teacher. No. Secondary level, you will have the same teacher. All right, let me go back to some of these other ones. It's 2:43, folks. We'll stay on for about another 15 minutes. It is stated 45 minutes for the in-class instruction and 45 minutes for the online. That's in the hybrid 45, I'm assuming you're referring to. What will the in-class students be doing during online instruction? Great question. So the teachers are setting this up so that the activities, the reinforcement, the worksheets, the homework, you know, we have to be able to check to make sure that what was just taught, the kids actually understand. So the students will actually be working on mastery skill activities, right? Mastery skill activities, or they also may be working together collaboratively. And folks, we gotta reshape this. Collaboratively doesn't mean that they all kind of get in a circle. It means they may all be on the screen together, right? That's the good thing about the hybrid 45, you know? And they can also potentially be communicating with some other kids that might be in the class that might be there, that might not be there that day as well. If there is an outbreak, are the kids allowed to go virtual? If there's an outbreak at a specific school, that school will go virtual, the entire school. It will go virtual. Kilby Shore's teachers are amazing. Sucks my kids could lose their teachers who are always there and willing to help. So even if there is a virtual teacher change, the current teacher will still be working collaboratively with that virtual teacher. So that current teacher will still be involved. That's one of the things that our elementary principals and teachers are working on right now. So will the kids be taking their Chromebooks back and forth? Yes. Remember last year, it was 6 through 12. Because, you know, we were 1-to-1, but we were only 1-to-1 during the day until February of 2020 when we changed it. Now we're 1-to-1 24 hours. Having your Chromebook is mandatory. Bringing your charger is mandatory, right? You have to have those things to be able to learn. And, you know, we might be able to have some extras that are, you know, being checked out and stuff on a loaner basis, but we can't keep doing it. This is part of the responsibility piece. Why are we embracing screen time when it's been proven to not be good for long exposure? Agreed. There won't be times where there'll be... One of the myths that we had to talk about earlier this year is that people actually believe that kids were going to be sitting in front of their computer for like 6 hours straight. And part of the reason why we had our administrators really increase their observations because I had to find out and ask them to go into the teachers' classrooms and see exactly how long is the lesson occurring, how long is the teacher online, what other type of activities are occurring, because we don't want them to be on the screen time that long either. I agree. So no more textbooks, all Chrome. Carl, the way we kind of really broke this down is when I asked Anthony Hines to place the order when it comes to textbook ordering and or online resources, the ratio that we kind of use is 75-25. Because I know that some of our students need to have hard copies. Some of our students need to have textbooks. So we wanted to make sure that that was going to occur. Please comment on GSA. So the Governor School of the Arts is working closely with us. They already know what our schedule is. They know what our schedule, and soon as the kid is determined to be on which cohort, then the Governor School is going to be able to adjust to that. You know, Dr. Warner and I, we've had several conversations about that. Is attendance taken in the asynchronous days? Yes. Are they required to log in? Yes. Yes. We gotta be able to have some type of way of accountability there. All right. My child will remain a virtual student. Is concerned that she will have to be in the computer in class from 8 to 3 each day. Is this correct? It goes back to the normal schedule. Remember, 7:25 middle school, 8:25 high school, 9:25 elementary. Numbers were put out how much the government gave the school district to prepare for back to school during this pandemic. 2.9 million. Where did it go? Go to our website. Go to our website. We got the breakdown. I can tell you, we spent a lot of money on interactive whiteboards. We spent the majority of our money on disinfectants, PPE, bipolar ionization. The entire breakdown is there. The entire breakdown is there. And, you know, we recently have been approved for $12.1 million in CARES Act 2 money. I want to make this clear as well. But there's a lot of stipulations for this, right? First of all, we got to complete the application to get the money. So that's about 30 days out for us to actually get the money. Second of all, you can't get your CARES Act 2 money until you spend your CARES Act 1 money. When the government released the CARES Act 2 thought process or notification, originally we had until the end of this year to spend CARES Act 1. Then they changed it. Like CARES Act 2 can now be spent up until September 30th, 2023. So in order to make sure that we spend our CARES Act 1 money, we had to move some things around. We had to move some things from operating budget to CARES Act and vice versa. Because you can't, they're very specific in what you have to spend the money on. Very specific, right? You can't use them for staff. It has to be one-time, expenses. That's why we bought the interactive whiteboards. That's why we're putting in these water bottle filling stations, right? This is why we bought the PPE, why we bought plexiglass dividers for staff. Those are coming in, okay? Just go to our website, go to budget. And if something that you can't find, guess what? We actually have a link that says, ask a budget question. It's right there on the website. Other school districts have opened up. Isle of Wight, Southampton have plastic dividers on student desks. Will Suffolk be providing dividers? We're putting dividers on teacher desks. And part of the reason why we're not putting them on student desks is because I'll be honest, folks, we can't get them. We can't get them. They will probably get here in July. But we have some for teachers, and it's a different size. Like the student desk ones are smaller. And again, everybody in the country is ordering the same thing. I always, it's my job to also be, a great steward of our money. So what happens when we go back to normal and we have 12,000 student plastic dividers? What are we going to do with those? Right? What are we going to do with those? I always try to make sure that when we spend our money, that we're spending on something that's sustainable and that we can use multiple. And the teacher dividers are something that is just not as many. Potentially, we may be able to store some of those. Please explain the decision to go with Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, and make it Monday, Tuesday, even days, and Wednesday, Thursday, odd days. So I kind of talked about this at the beginning. You got to split the class in half, right? Got to split the class in half. So if I have half of my first period or half of my first period on Monday, the other half of my first period is coming on Tuesday. If not, that means I wouldn't see groups of kids for 3 and 4 days. So yes, that is an adjustment in the schedule. But remember, folks, we got to make adjustments here. It's a lot of new information that's come out that's different than what we were first told on March 13th, 2020, right? A lot of new information that's come out. Because now the CDC, the federal government, the state government, they actually have research. When this came out, you always got to make sure that you are as safe as you possibly can because you just don't know. Now they know some things. This is why guidance has changed. This is how we know that high touch areas isn't a strong transmitter of the virus. They now have told us this, right? I have so much confidence in Sarah Williford, our supervisor of nursing, Dr. Rice, our chief of administrative services, and I have weekly meetings. I have weekly meetings with the state, been in contact with the governor's office. Our delegate has done a great job. Delegate Jenkins has done a great job of giving me some insight on what's coming. Suffolk Public Schools is prepared, okay? It's prepared. And I just got to say this again. If y'all have questions, if you have concerns, please come to us. Don't go to somebody else that's created a Facebook group just to start drama. Come to us. Come to us. We're all in this together. We all want this to succeed. And, I promised you all when I started this job on October 14, 2019, that we were going to be fully transparent. This is why I answer 95% of the emails that you all send me personally. This is why we had 21 faculty budget meetings, so they knew exactly what's going to be in my presentation on February 25th. We all want this to succeed. I'm trusting you. You all are trusting us. We got to work together here, President Joe Biden on Tuesday evening recast his own press secretary's benchmark, saying that he wanted K through 8 schools to have in-person learning on nearly a full week in his first 100 days in office. How realistic is this for Suffolk Public Schools? The goal is 5 days a week by September. That's the goal. But we got to take a look at what these metrics say. Remember, they haven't even rolled out vaccines for students, children yet. Let's see what happens with that. And we have the shortage. Summer school is going to be hybrid. What we're doing right here to close out this year is going to be hybrid. If we get them back 5 days, it would make everybody's job easier. Mine, yours, the kids would be happy. I cannot wait till we get back to normal. Shout out to Mr. Culp of Kilby Shores. He makes his online classes fun and educational, along with making our morning show. If y'all haven't seen the Kilby Sharps morning show, it is the best show on TV. He also knows every kid's name at our schools and their siblings. Shout out to Miss Athy. Her fun lunches for the students are fun filled. See, this is what we're talking about. The teachers, let me tell you, the teachers are doing above and beyond. Above and beyond. We had some people that believed that our teachers were being lazy because they were only coming into the building 2 days a week. Teachers are working about 50-hour work weeks. 50-hour work weeks. Custodial crew, transportation, food and nutrition services, putting their health at risk, delivering these meals, cleaning up our schools. We need every employee group in order for this plan to work. Right? We need every employee group for this plan to work. And this is why I'm having the conversations with them, Our staff in the past has had some fear about some things, and we're trying to address that. But they can't say that they don't know what's happening. You all can't say you don't know what's happening, because we're going to talk to you. This is why we have a webinar coming out for parents to help you with the transition. This is why you're going to see orientations coming out from your schools. It's so important that happens. The new spending plan being proposed by the district. It says teachers need upgraded laptops. Did they already get upgraded laptops? Yes. We're putting the finishing touches on a few that still need some. And we also started giving our paraprofessionals one. That's where a lot of our money went to. Because, laptops really, folks, they have about a 5-year lifespan. And John Littlefield, our great director of technology, knows when the end of life is for these things. So we try to be proactive. We can't always order everything at one time because we just don't have the money. So a lot of the things that have been coming from our new federal dollars, we're really spending it to catch up. To catch up. Will the desks be 6 feet apart? Yes. Are the children required to take the SOL? Yes. Parents can opt out, as Mr. Clark says. I have a child who's struggling. She will have a hard time. Will she fail 4th grade for failing an SOL? You don't fail a grade level for failing an SOL. But this is part of the reason why we're putting in these, basically a revised version of our summer school. Let me see. The newspaper has put out some bad schools and how they failed the airflow tests, along with heating and AC in the schools. See, here we go. More information. The actual article that was in the Suffolk News Herald was related to our facility study that showed that schools need to be replaced in Suffolk. The lifespan of a school is 50 years if you do everything with preventative maintenance. The article also said that it costs about $220 million over the next 10 years to replace all of our roofs and our HVAC systems. This is part of the reason why we're saying that we need some new schools. This is part of the reason why we bought these bipolar ionizations to help kill the virus. And to replace our roofs is about 15 million over the next couple of years. I mean, preventative maintenance is really important. Really important. We have kids in elementary school and middle school. If one school is shut down, what is the protocol for the other? And can the older sibling stay home? So if it's the kid that actually has tested positive, the sibling has to stay home. Okay, if we have to shut down a school for an outbreak, we will also take a look at the siblings too, and more than likely have to move them to virtual for those 14 days. That's kind of a part of the contact tracing there. What are push-in and pull-out services going to look like for our special education teachers and students? Very similar. Very similar. Of course, the groups are going to be smaller. It's going to look very similar. What happens if a student forgets their mask? We're going to give them another one. Once or twice. Then after that, you probably got to go virtual. What happens if there's a case of COVID in bus drivers, staff, or students? Same process we've always done. That's where the contact tracing is really important. And we ask the person, name all the people. First, tell us the location you've been. Name all the people you've been around. Were you around these people for more than 15 minutes? Then we communicate with everyone that was listed. We take a look at the cameras too. We have to do it all. Let me see. What is the protocol for when a student forgets their charger or Chromebook at home? So our media specialists are now basically part of our technology department. And we will have a couple of extras, where people can kind of sign them out. But we don't have enough extras for everybody. And so we're going to keep a list. And more than likely, the administration is going to send home a letter or shoot you an email saying your child forgot their Chromebook or charger on this date. Please remind them of the importance of bringing this each and every day. And we're documenting that. We're documenting that. What PPE will be provided for SBS students and staff? Specifically disinfecting wipes. Yes, in all secondary. We also want to give them to the elementary teachers, but we don't want the elementary kids disinfecting their areas. Spray. Yes. The custodians also do that. Mask. Every staff member has a mask. As I said, we also ordered 40,000 paper masks. We actually have ordered more. 40,000 was our original order. I think we've ordered about 15 or 20 more. What time will Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School start in school days for 6th grade? 7:25. What will happen to a class when a hybrid teacher comes into contact with someone who's positive for COVID and or test positive themselves? That's part of the contact tracing. If someone tests positive, they're out for 14 days, and we need to have some test results before they can return. Some of these are repeat, folks. That's why I'm kind of scanning and skipping. I apologize. We got about 2 minutes left. Where do I find out about modified before and after school care options if I choose hybrid? You mentioned Alpha Best. That's what we're partnering with. Parks and Rec is through the city. YMCA is actually on its own. Why are staff members being required to come into the building on Fridays if it's for asynchronous work, PD, and remediation? Wouldn't it be safer to keep staff at home when possible? Because we need staff members in the building on Fridays. We actually have some testing days coming up. There's also going to be some information that's going to be shared from administrators with the teachers. Some of it may be in person. We also may have some students that might be coming in that need some specific support. I think we've been very accommodating to our staff. Very accommodating. Why are we going back to school right before spring break? Will there be a mandatory quarantine time? No. We're going back because Governor set a deadline of March 15th. School board voted 4-2 to send our kids back. We've had some recommendations this year when our metrics were actually lower to send our kids back too. A lot of these are repeats. Well, elementary teachers get duty-free lunch. We're going to try, but I can't guarantee it. More than likely, it all depends on if students are eating in the classroom. Remember, the law doesn't say you have to have a duty-free lunch. So you need to be able to have some planning time, but not a duty-free lunch. Will long-term substitutes receive paid leave if they were to contact COVID-19? Up to 10 days. Yes. And that also, this question also kind of takes me back to if a teacher is out, we do have permanent subs that we've hired to cover classrooms. Will parents be given the option to continue with virtual learning if they prefer? Yes. Will students be expected to stay seated all day? No. But they are expected to keep their mask on. Like at the secondary level, for example, kids will not be allowed to go to the bathroom during class change because we have to be able to track who's going in and out of the bathroom. There will either be a physical sign-in sheet right there in the classroom or Google Drive, Google Docs sign-in sheet, because that helps us with the contact tracing. Remember, if we're going to be safe, we have to know how many people went into this bathroom and at what time. It's a great way for us to be able to track it all. All right, so I just want to remind some folks of our important dates here before I sign off. The week of March 8th, Parent Transition Webinar. It will be recorded, so you can send it, you can see it, multiple times. Also, please go to our COVID-19 resource guide, right? Resources. It's under resources, it's under newsroom. You can also ask a question there too, and I promise you someone will get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. PSAT coming up for my 10th graders that have registered February 26th. 11th grade, writing SOL, March 8th through March 11th. We're doing that before the kids come back. That way we can use the whole school, right? Spread the kids out. 8th grade, writing SOL, March 15th through the 18th. Again, before the kids come back. Last thing I want to say is, I know there's some anxiety about this, and we completely get it. But I can honestly tell you, remember, we've been planning for this since July. And we've made tweaks along the way based on what we saw from 7th grade SOL testing that went really well, based on some of the consistent concerns and themes and feedback that we've seen from you all as a school community. And looking at our current numbers, we really tried to use what our current numbers were from your fall survey to start our planning process. Now we're going to make the tweaks and adjustment for any of you all to decide to change. Okay? And it took time. This is why I asked the board to make sure whatever date they set, give us 3 weeks to a month, because we wanted to be able to survey you all again and then give our administrators and teachers an opportunity to plan for that. So more information is going to be coming out in the next 3 weeks to a month. You're probably going to see something almost every week, right? Every week. Email us if you have questions. Communicate with your principals. You're going to see orientation videos that's going to pop up. You're going to see opportunities for, some people that's new to the area to have some conversations. The relationships that your students have built with the kids, we want to be able to preserve those. We want to be able to preserve those. But really all I'm asking you to do is, you got to trust. You got to trust. Something's going wrong. You have my word. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Just come to us with questions. Okay? Come to us with questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we were on here for 1 hour and 4. The numbers are going down. There was 600 something. We were up to 800 some at a time. Thank you all so much for your patience this year. We're really looking forward to having our kids back in. We're looking forward to our staff being there 5 days a week. We're hoping to have some sense of normalcy as we move forward. Take care.